Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sunny Side Up podcast. I am your host, Olivia Janelle, and today we are going to be diving into a topic that I know many of us struggle with, and that is perfectionism. So many of us believe that in order for us to be successful or worthy, we have to be perfect at every single thing. At every single moment. But the truth is, that's not true. Perfectionism is a trap. Perfectionism does not exist because we're all human. It keeps us stuck, stressed, and unable to take action. In today's episode, we are going to discuss on how we can let go of the need to be perfect, embrace imperfection, and find freedom in progress, not perfection. So let's just get right to it. Whoo-wee. I just want to say, society really wants to keep you in this perfect little bubble. You can't wear Michael Kors anymore. You have to wear these jeans. You have to go to this school, or you have to date a certain person or be the certain person. And it's just like, but why? That doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. Think about it. We're all here on purpose for a purpose, and it's not to be perfect. We are embracing our imperfections. We are embracing who we are, which means we are living authentically and not being conformed by cookie cutter bullshit that does not make any sense and does not fit any mold for anybody. Think about it. Oftentimes, a lot of businesses, they want to look like every other business, but if you look at every other business, they're not the same. Your colors are different, your people are different. So, why would you want to be the same person and be like the same product just to be liked? No, everybody has their own preferences, which is the great thing about life. If you have preferences, that means that you're living. I can remember a time when I was in high school. So, it was my freshman year of high school, and I was there to pretty much play basketball and obviously get a good education. I was in a private school, and I remember that I wasn't the best on the team. And I also remember having this bubbly personality that this girl, I won't put her name out there, but she said, "You're too much." I'm a very extra person. If you were to get to know me, I am that out of the box person. And she wasn't. And I just remember what she was saying, you need to sit down and keep your mouth shut. And I'm just like, huh? And then it made me think to not be I'm sure when I think about it and being in that moment, I remember yeah, I was a little hurt about it, and then I was just thinking, well, nobody else has said that to me. What does everybody else think about me? And then I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I also remember a time in my life when I was in the 6th grade and I was bullied heavily. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? I don't care what anybody else thinks. That's their opinion. Obviously when you grow older, yes, that's what the outlook is. But in that moment, I just remember thinking to myself, well, I'm not them and they're not me. And I was able to create my own style to this day. I have my own style compared to everybody else's. And it just makes me think, and especially with respects to this episode, that I don't care to be perfect. There are certain things that have to be a certain way. I get that. For example, sometimes whenever I'm editing my podcast episodes, or if I say something wrong, sometimes I try and perfect it, or I have to have everything perfect and have it all figured out. But the reality is you don't have to have every single thing figured out in order for you to be successful within your life. You just need to make actionable steps that will get you to where you want to go. That's it. But in order for you to realize that, you have to make a decision to say, hey, you know what? I don't need to be perfect. I don't have to conform from other people's opinions of me, because as long as I'm comfortable within my skin, none of the other stuff matters. Just imagine if I actually cared about what everybody else thinks. I wouldn't be taking massive action. I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And I for sure would not be able to perform within my business or show up as that person, because I don't have the identity of somebody else because I'm not trying to be anybody else. And perfectionism, honestly, it is a struggle. Like if you come to South Florida, you have to have like a certain amount of money or a certain car or whatever, and it's just like that's not reality. That like if you like walk around with that mindset that you have to have this or you have to have this or you have to have that, then you're gonna stay stuck because those people aren't happy. Like being in like South Florida, in Miami, you have to have it like all figured out. Like you have to have the Rolls Royce or you have to have like the perfect body. That's why like it's like the plastic surgery capital of the world. Having perfectionism is going to create self-doubt, stress you out, and prevent you from taking action. I mean, if you really think about it, who in here, by a show of hands, wants to have somebody dictate their life to be perfect? I don't think any of us want that. Make a decision today to not conform by perfectionism because I know you're better than that. So, the traps of perfectionism is going to hold you back inevitably. And we really need to define what perfectionism is. And perfectionism is the belief that anything less than perfection is a failure. And this can lead to burnout, procrastination, and dissatisfaction. Because if you constantly try to become this perfect person that doesn't exist, then you're not going to make huge strides within yourself. The pressure that we put on ourselves to meet impossible standards and the constant striving for perfectionism or just perfection keeps us from not enjoying the process, and inevitably we're not able to grow. If you decide to become this perfect person, it's going to hold you back. You're going to have stress, you're going to have anxiety, you're going to live a life that you don't necessarily want to live. And you have to ask yourself this question: how long are you willing to suffer until you can start living the life that you want to? I hope it would be sooner than rather than later. Being on the side of not being perfect, that side is so much better. And you have to think about it this way: being on the opposite side of not being perfect is so much better than being perfect because you can take bigger risks that have higher reward. Because when you ask yourself a quality question, that determines the quality of your life because you're gonna get a quality answer. Perfectionism is a trap and you don't want to stay there. That's just the bottom line. How can you're probably asking yourself, like, how can I get myself out of perfection, or how can I like try and navigate that? So when you're navigating like being perfect and not being conformed by society, what are the benefits of embracing imperfection? You have the freedom of not being perfect. This leads to creativity. This leads to the ability for you to start taking action without the fear of failure, because you're going to fail regardless. And having failure is actually a stepping stone to help you within the moment within your life. If you don't take any risks, if you never fail, then like what are you doing? If you don't fail, you don't learn. By embracing imperfection, you can discover a new self-confidence and also a confidence with what you're doing within your life. And with confidence, it just proves that mistakes are part of the process. By embracing the imperfection, you can also have the mindset of progress is perfection rather than perfection is progress. Like, nobody is literally perfect. Like, you have to shift this within your mind so that you can start living your life. So, by you taking progress and by you taking action, the small steps that are attainable to your goals. So, on the previous episode that I had with embracing the uncertainty, I discussed a few different things. Now, this is very similar too. Like, you don't have to go up the whole entire staircase. You can just take one step at a time. And if you're not going to do anything that's inconsistent with your unconscious programs, you have to be you have to realize what you're doing unconsciously, because that's 95% of the time, in order for you to be able to do things that are conscious. The next step after taking these small steps is that you have to give yourself some credit for all of the things that you've just done. If you don't give yourself any credit, you're going to think that, oh, I'm not doing enough. Like, no, you are doing a lot. You just need to give yourself more credit. I know, and like, even like, for example, last year, when I had a very difficult time in this whole entire like healing journey, I didn't give myself any credit for all of the healing that I've done. I just remember the moment in that shift that I can give myself a pat on the back, because it's like, girl, you're doing more than the average person is doing. Because the average person is literally living in their discomfort. They're living in their old program. You are surpassing your program, and you're healing and addressing those emotions, those behaviors, etc., everything. And you're also shifting your focus. So you have to give yourself a lot more credit for that. If you don't give yourself any credit, nobody else will. They're just not going to do it at all. They don't understand the amount of progression that you have had. Only you know how much progression, can't even say it, how much progression that you even said. See, you see how, like, even like that, like, I just like messed up on a word. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. All right, move forward. Like, you don't have to continue to keep on beating yourself up about not being perfect, not doing the things, etc. But today, you can make the decision on to do better, to take that one step forward, because once you take that one step forward, you never know what the infinite possibilities are ahead. You just have to take that one step. Learn from your mistakes. Just know that they're just your stepping stones. You also don't have to beat yourself up about all of the mistakes that you've had either, because if you didn't know those mistakes, then you wouldn't be able to be where you're at right now. Like, just for example, the podcast that I had recorded previous to this, the microphone, I was having some issues with it and I couldn't figure it out. But I was like, okay, well, let me take a moment. Let me figure out, let me troubleshoot some certain things. And instead of beating myself up about it, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to record the podcast again. And then I thought to myself, well, then it probably will be even better than the first time that I did it. So you constantly are going to be in a battle with yourself every single day until you figure out that you are in control of your life. You are in control of your emotions. You are in control of where you're headed, because it's a choice. If you decide today, if you make a decision is to be perfect, then you're going to constantly be at battle with yourself. But if you embrace the imperfection and if you make the decision, meaning that's a choice that you're making to not be perfect, then you're going to be well past where you're at right now. I know I am. Just for example, this podcast, my first podcast episode, I had said to myself, I'm not a podcast girly. Who knows where this is headed? I know it's headed to the moon and back. It's all because of your belief systems. It's all because of your perspective and your mindset. If you can shift these certain things, what? We got a whole army of people that are here on purpose for a purpose. And I'm going to constantly keep on saying that. If you knew my background, you would be like, she's still going? Yes, I'm still going, because I know that there's people out there that need to hear my story. I know that there's people out there that need to hear this podcast. I've had people who know me have told me this verbatim. Like, they were shocked when they were listening to the words that came out of my mouth, because I am just here for transformation. I was able to transform myself. Therefore, I'm able to transform somebody else. You're probably thinking to yourself, like, okay, well, how can I let go of this perfectionism? Acknowledge your perfectionism. And it's going to sound super silly, but you have to have a laugh with yourself. If you're not having fun, then like, what really is the point of all of this? Like, think about it. If you're constantly like being perfect, and if that perfectionism comes and pops up, you're like, you know what, haha, good job, Olivia. That's your old program that is coming through, and you're able to navigate that. Recognize that the perfectionism is going to be holding you back. And awareness is the first step. So, step number one is to acknowledge the perfectionism. Step number two is to take imperfect action. Like, the action is obviously not going to be perfect. You just have to start somewhere and then optimize from there. You won't get it right the second, the third, or the fourth time. Or if you need any more, that too. But hopefully you're learning as you're going and you're using that learning into your actions so that you can become a little bit better, okay? And you also have to shift your expectations. So, step number 1 is to acknowledge the perfectionism. Step number 2 is to take imperfect action. Step number 3 is to have some compassion for yourself. Just allow yourself some grace. Those feels come up, that's fine. Whatever comes up, that's fine. Acknowledge that. Don't ignore it or stuff it because that's very harmful for yourself. Change the expectation of perfectionism to learning and growth and let go of the need to have every single thing figured out, because if you're constantly searching within your life to have every single thing figured out, you're not going to have every single thing figured out in order for you to make that first step. You have to make that first step. That's it. Once you take that first step, the light illuminates as you go down the tunnel. As you go and you move through, you sift through life. The more that you take action, the more that you're able to learn. And the more that you're able to learn, the more that you are able to transform yourself and get to the life that you really want or the thing that you want. So after we are acknowledging perfectionism, we are taking imperfect action, we are giving ourselves some compassion, and we are shifting our expectations. Next, we are creating a space for mistakes. We need to shift our perspective to know that these mistakes, we need to shift our perspective that these mistakes are valuable lessons to be learned rather than signs of failure, because it's a great place to be in a space where you are learning rather than having multiple signs of failure, because you will get it. But if you don't continue to keep on going, you're not going to get it. It's just very simple math. Like, of course, our brains, we're going to go back to the second episode. Our brains are going to constantly keep on telling us like that it's constantly going to think negatively. It's constantly here to keep us safe. That's why we are alive. But if you constantly keep on thinking that and keep on searching for evidence to support your belief systems, you're not going to push through this perfectionism if you're doing that. And after all of that, I want you to embody all of the different attributes that you think that are imperfect and allow yourself to have some compassion for yourself and see the beauty in imperfection and know how important this is for your personal growth. And that is actually a Japanese concept called wabi sabi, which is finding the beauty within imperfection. You are able to start to look at everything through a different lens once you're going through that. Like once you're able to look at the beauty of all the imperfection within your life, saying, okay, then you're able to be in control of your life. But there's also certain things too that go along with it. This is a practice that you're supposed to do, yes, but there's way more to it as well. So that's why it's so important for you to have a coach, have somebody to guide you through these things, and be surrounded by people who are like-minded. It's just you are around people who understand what in the world is actually going on. If you allow all of this imperfection to consume you, you're not going to be where you want to be. You're not going to have the creativity. Remember me when it was like last year when I was going through these things and just trying to transform myself. Yeah, it was pretty scary. Yeah, it was a lot, but I had to do that in order for me to do this. I had to face myself in order for me to even have this podcast. And I guarantee you, not a lot of people are able to admit that because they've never gone through any of the things. They've never faced themselves face face to face in the mirror saying, you know what, you got this. And if you're constantly waiting for that perfect moment, that perfect moment is now, yesterday, today, at this moment. It's always now o'clock, and that's it. If you don't take those actions, now will be next Monday. Now will be maybe next year, maybe next month, maybe next week. No, now. Do it today, right at this moment, now. I just really, I sometimes I just don't know like where a lot of these episodes are going, but I just know that the basis of a lot of these different topics are things that you guys all experience. Because I know, hold on, let me back up real quick. The only reason that I'm able to discuss these topics is because I have gone through these very things myself. I'm not over here talking about, okay, like this is what I can discuss, like a whole bulletproof outline. Wow, well, that is bulletproof. Okay, we'll go with it. Through this whole bulleted outline of, I gotta say this, I gotta say that, I gotta say this in order for them to understand my message. It's just like, no, you can understand that I embrace imperfection every single day. You shall as well. You have permission. I give you permission. Give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to live an imperfect life. If you don't give yourself that permission, nobody is going to. You have to. So every time I do these episodes, I'm just like, damn, like this is always so exciting, because not only is it like a healing journey that I've gone through in my life, but it's also a healing journey that you're going through too. I want you all to embrace the imperfection. I want to know, what is the certain thing that you are dealing with within your life that's not perfect, that you're trying to perfect? Let me know in the comment section down below. And with all of that said, if you enjoyed today's episode, and if you have somebody within your life that you think could receive this message, please send it to them. And also, don't forget to subscribe, give a rating, give a like to this episode. And as always, I will see you guys in my next episode. Bye.